News. This is pretty amazing, although everything Trump does is pretty amazing as we collapse into dictatorship from being a democracy. Now he's told New York that they better not elect their choice for mayor. And if they do, he'll cut off all funding to the city of New York. So this is what China did to Taiwan. And it is absolutely anti-democratic and a violation of the Constitution, like almost everything Trump has done. So I certainly hope we can begin to reverse this by having the Democrats win in 26. But I just heard a clip from the I've Had It podcast, which is a fun one, where they interviewed a Democratic candidate and said, all right, because of the genocide, you're not going to take money from AIPAC, are you? And he said, well, I don't know. I'll look into it. Maybe yes, maybe no, which is the way they all are. They're sold out to corrupt financial influences. They meet with, that's why Schumer caved on the budget last time. He met with the billionaires, and the billionaires said, oh, no, just let the Republicans pass their big, beautiful bill because we'll make more money. And so we'll see. But the Democrats, the problem is the Democrats are probably correct to say all they have to do is tread water and do nothing, and they'll win because Trump will burn down the Republicans. But I would sure like to see some Democrats with principles run instead of just being corporate and corrupt. But the fact is, they can probably win by being completely corporate and corrupt. I'd rather see a motion. I think that's not really going to address the needs of our time, though. I mean, like I say, every 80 years we have this time when the old regime collapses and we have a new thing, like the New Deal. And I think we need that. And I think the Democrats trying to pretend that their tepid corruption of the last few decades is good enough are going to be wrong. I think the people are getting fed up with crooks leading us, and they want to see somebody with some actual principles. But we will see. And again, Trump has made a national security directive, which is much more than an executive order. These are usually classified in secret, but he made this one public. And this is exactly like the Red Scare in the time of Joseph McCarthy, where they hunted out communists all through America. And by the way, there was some justification there. There were actual communists and foreign agents, but they harassed and intimidated and blacklisted and hurt a whole lot of innocent people in the way, and it led to Ronald Reagan. That's why Ronald Reagan entered politics. He was the head of the Screen Actors Guild, and he wanted to serve on the House Un-American Activities Commission and prosecute his fellow actors. That was when he discovered how much fun politics was, and his whole lifelong cause was anti-communist. That was his thing. But now we're going to have anti-Democrat. And so they list a bunch of anti-American activities which will be treated as you being a terrorist. And here they are, anti-American, anti-capitalism, anti-Christianity, extremism on migration, race, gender. So all the LGBTQ people are automatically anti-American, and so on. And hostility towards those who hold traditional views on family. This is exactly what happened in the House Un-American Activities Committee. They had this list of thought crimes, and if you held any positions that were not approved by them, they would punish you and crush you. And it's really pretty amazing because, of course, one thing that's fun is when they had the right-wing meeting, Grindr crashed. The Republicans are more gay and more queer than anybody, which is, this is the way it is. These people that have these extreme anti-sex views are usually just completely closet cases where they break the rules even more in private and condemn them in public. Some psychologists will need to give this a name, the extreme hypocrisy where you champion some cause and secretly violate it. This is a popular form of human mental flaw, which doesn't have a name as far as I know. That's right, yeah. Promises to drain the swamp. Well, yeah, he certainly isn't doing that. In fact, it's come out that he's totally just selling pardons. To be fair, the Democrats did that too, and Biden did corrupt things too. The point is the Democrats are relatively corrupt. Trump manages to multiply their corruptness by about a factor of 100. And that's why, I think at some point the people are going to get fed up with this and want some actual leaders with some principles instead of just getting corruption light or corruption heavy as our two choices. But that's what we have right now. And so there's this important thing. I've been talking about this a lot on other podcasts. The number one way people get attacked now is through their routers, not the computers, not the end devices. The routers, firewalls, VPN concentrators, and so on. And here's another botnet running, and it's compromising end devices, small home office routers, Internet of Things devices, and enterprise apps. So it's a thing to be aware of. Unfortunately, there's not much of anything you can do about it. As far as I know, there's no router security products you can purchase. There's no routers that have any security products. And the only thing you can do, I guess, is change it so it doesn't have the default password. That would help. And update the firmware to patch the known vulnerabilities, and that would stop some of it. But this has been my cause for about a year. We need more secure routers. The router should be as secure as an iPhone. And that could technically be accomplished. Your iPhone is very safe because it will not run any software that is not signed by Apple. Everybody has to ask Apple's permission to please put this stuff on an iPhone, and they won't let you through if it's malicious. And they're really quite good at screening out the malware. And every router manufacturer could do the same thing. If you have a Juniper router, it could just require that Juniper has approved and signed everything running on the box. They just don't, and I don't know why. Anyway, we're going to need that, but we don't have it yet. So dynamic DNS is been around forever. It's a way you can host a website on your home machine. What you do is you rent out a subdomain. Somebody has a domain like company.com, and they give you like apple.company.com, and now people can go to your website at home, and it will automatically update to find you at home, usually because you run some kind of agent that phones home and tells it where you are. And then even if you have something like a laptop moving from place to place, it'll find you, and you can serve it. Now, Cloudflare Tunnels does the same thing, and I'm using that for access to my private cloud. It's been around for a long time. However, of course, this is great for criminals. If criminals want to host something and they know they're going to get a flood of complaints and get it taken down and have to keep moving it around, they use these dynamic DNS providers. So this is an interesting article where these guys explain how they are scraping the DNS records all over the place to find all these temporary transient domains and try to rate which ones are malicious, which is probably an important bit of threat intelligence. You'd want to block them. It probably would be a pretty good idea at a company to just block all these temporary domains, saying the only place anybody should be going is a real company with a static domain that's been up for like more than a few months. Anybody else is pretty suspicious. That'd probably be a good way to block most malware domains. Anyway, so another activity that I've heard for years, but I didn't think was popular, but now it's becoming popular, is stingrays, road base stations to intercept cell phone traffic. I've been hearing a lot more about it lately. The EFF has put out a box. A guy had showed me one at Hope. You can just build this little gadget with like a Raspberry Pi or a Big Byte. It's already built, and it will detect stingrays around you. And apparently it's happening a lot. And they found it in Brazil. They found a bunch of people using stingrays, and so they taught people how to find them. They've taught their like police how to go around and find the unauthorized interceptors. And I think this is happening more and more, and we should know about this. This used to be seen, this and also hacking your router, used to be seen as an exotic attack that you didn't have to worry about because only a tiny fraction of the time would that thing happen, but now they become pretty common. So I remember a few years ago, there were Android apps that would claim to detect stingrays, and people said, oh, you're just paranoid, that isn't really happening. Well, it's really happening, like a whole lot of things. When it's new, nobody's doing it. It's just a theoretical attack, but after a while it becomes a real attack. And so apparently they haven't quite figured out what they were doing with this. They found people were in Brazil were being going into China to receive training and payment, and then they would drive around Brazil with the interceptor in their car, and it would somehow break into banks. It would somehow intercept two-factor authentication. They don't know exactly how that worked, but they'd be driving around in their car, intercepting cell phone signals, and breaking into people's bank accounts with it. And there was no symptom for the people until there were unauthorized transactions draining their bank account. So that's interesting, and it's, by the way, another reason why we really shouldn't be using SMS-based two-factor authentication. You should be aware, one-factor authentication is the weakest and most dangerous. SMS-based two-factor is a little better, but still quite dangerous. What's really much better is passkeys, which is generally FIDO2, biometric authentication as the second factor. Although an app on your phone is not too bad either, but still, the best thing is FIDO2 passkeys. There's various names for it. This thing that really verifies that it is your device and nobody else's device logging in. So this is something the EFF has been talking about for a long time, and like I say, I'm also beginning to think this is common. I have many students coming to me telling me they're persistently hacked, people getting all their stuff, and maybe 10 years ago everybody said, oh, you're just making it up, you're crazy, but now it's really happening. And there's spyware that will just take over your device. You can buy it, it's commercial, and of course the government uses it. They use it to monitor sex offenders, and this keeps on happening. These spyware companies are shady, and stupid, and they keep getting hacked and dumping out all the contents of the spyware. And here they dumped out all the information about the sex offenders and the police monitoring the sex offenders. Everybody just keeps putting their data, and they didn't say exactly how he got in, but the hacker said this is like the easiest breach I ever did. So it's probably something incredibly simple, like just an unprotected Amazon bucket or an open API call or a SQL injection. One of, security 101 flaws is pretty much what it has to be. And if these things are set up sloppily, they have those vulnerabilities, and you can just dump out the data, and that's what he did. So this keeps on happening. All right. And so this, I think, is very much true. A lot of people have wondered, since Donald Trump is clearly destroying the economy, the tariffs are crazy, the farmers are suffering, the grocery prices keep going up, the inflation rate is going up, and his solution is to stop reporting the inflation rate so we won't know. And everyone wonders, why is the stock market still going up? A lot of people have argued about this, and what they've said is it's going up entirely because of the vast amount of spending on AI, all of which is unsustainable. Like they say, the AI, the only reason people spend on AI is because more venture capital is coming in. So they don't actually sell a product, they just take a bunch of investment, build something, and that attracts more investors. So this is like the pyramid scheme part, where you take the new people's money to pay off the old people. That only works while you're rising. And everyone's saying we're about hitting the peak. So there's going to be a huge crash, like the internet crash, when everybody finally admits that this AI is not really worth what we're spending on it. And so anyway, we'll see. And Deutsche Bank is warning we're hitting the peak. A lot of people have been warning. And when it does, then we'll go down to where the economy really is. Outside of AI spending, it's down here. I mean, the total economy is here. This is the GDP growth, which is in a normal range. But if you remove AI, it's at the low for like 25 years, which is what it should be because of Trump's tariffs and Doge and all the policies that have gutted the American economy. This is where it really is. This is an artificial puff up from people spending money on AI with no actual justification. So anyway, that's all the news I wanted to say. It's our 10 minutes.